Roman Turski was working as a flight instructor in Lyons, France. But when Hitler annexed Austria, he realized war was imminent and he needed to get back to Poland. He hopped in his plane, he took off, but just before he reached Vienna, Austria, his plane developed some magneto trouble and he had to land for repairs. Well, he stayed the night in a hotel, and the next morning when he got up, he thought, I should go buy some souvenirs before I head back. He went downstairs, he stepped outside, and slams into him. He's never seen him before. He was so freaked out. He grabbed him by the arm. He was going to give him a piece of his mind, and the guy turned to him, and his face was just white as a sheet. He was scared crazy, and he goes, Gestapo, Gestapo, and tried to get away from him. Well, Roman didn't know very much German, but everybody knew about the Gestapo even back then. So he grabbed the guy and he ran up toward his room and he shoved him inside, slammed the door. He pulled the blankets off his bed, laid the guy at the bottom of his bed, and kind of arranged him in a jackknife pattern. The guy was really thin. He thought, this is going to work. He put a bunch of blankets over the top of him to make it look like he had actually just kicked the blankets off himself and just got up out of bed. Then he pulled off his hat and his tie and his collar, his jacket, everything, to make it look like he'd just gotten up himself. In just a few minutes, there was a knock at the door, and it was the Gestapo. And they rushed inside, and they asked him a ton of questions in German. And of course, he didn't understand any of them. All that he could do was say one of the German phrases he did know, which was, I don't understand, I don't understand. And finally, the Gestapo gave up. And they didn't search the room. They didn't see anything suspicious, and they left. Well, as soon as they left, Roman locked the hotel room, and then he got the guy out of his bed covers, of course, and the man was so grateful, and he couldn't express it because Roman couldn't understand him, but torrents of words poured out of him, and Roman's like, I have no idea. And Roman pulled out his flight map because Roman was a pretty good guy. He decided he was going to help this guy escape from Austria. And he made him understand by drawing a little stickman map, on the side of the edge of the map that he was working with, showing him how he would take him on his plane and help him escape. And the guy was so excited. And he pointed to Warsaw in Poland, like, can you take me here? And Roman was all, I have to refuel before I can reach Warsaw. So he showed him how if they landed at any airport, the guy would be captured, and he drew little bars and a little guy behind him to show him. And then he said that what he could do was, he pointed out just outside of Krakow, which was where he would need to refuel. And he's like, I could take you here, and then you could go to Warsaw from there. And the little guy just looked so grateful. So Roman gathered up all of his stuff. They took off to the airport. And when they got to the airport, the immigration inspector wasn't suspicious at all when Roman said that his friend just wanted to see him off on the plane. As soon as they got to the plane, of course, they loaded that guy up and they took off. And as they passed near Krakow, he could see a really nice meadow, perfect for landing in. So Roman landed the plane and helped the little guy get out. And the guy was so grateful, and Roman gave him most of his money for the trip to try to help him. And the guy just grabbed his hand, like, couldn't say anything, really appreciate it kind of thing, and took off into the woods. When Roman got to Krakow, he was met by a bunch of police and the immigrations inspector guy, and they said, we have a warrant to search your plane. You helped someone escape. And Roman's all, go ahead and search it. Incidentally, what did the guy do? And the policeman, so serious, says, he was a Jew. Okay. Well, of course they had to let Roman go. They didn't find anything. Roman got back in his plane. He went home. He joined the Polish Air Force. It was a short and bloody battle. And, of course, the Polish people lost. And so he joined the other pilots trying to escape into Romania, where they could find another front to fight this war. In Romania, they were captured and put in a concentration camp. Well, Roman escaped. He escaped, and he made his way to France, and he fought with their Air Force until the fall of France. And then he joined Britain and fought for their Air Force for the Battle of Britain. And on his way back from a mission where they had downed several planes, his Spitfire hit the back of another plane, and a bit of the tail was crunched up by the propeller and thrown back into his head. So he had this terrible head wound. He was bleeding so bad he couldn't see. He was mostly blind. And the other Spitfires around him helped him get back and kind of vanguarded him all the way back across the channel. But then he crashed. And he was unconscious and he didn't know anything until the morning when he woke up and he kind of looked around and a guy leaned over him and said, "Hi, you helped me escape Vienna. Remember me?" Well, yeah, Roman remembered him. He's like, "How did you find me?" And he looks and the guy's wearing a white smock and he's going, "Do you work here?" And the guy goes, "It's a long story." He says, "After you dropped me off, I made my way to Warsaw and a friend helped me escape to Scotland. And I've been living in Scotland all this time. And when I saw that one of our Polish Air Force squadrons had really distinguished itself in the Battle of Britain, I looked it up wondering if you might be in it. I called the Air Ministry to see if you were in it, and sure enough you were." And then he says, "I saw in the newspaper that one of our brave heroes had been shot down." And Roman's like, "I never told you my name." And the guy said, "It was written on the outside of your map and I remembered it. And when I saw that you'd been shot down and you'd crash landed and had a serious head injury and you weren't expected to survive, I insisted that the Royal Edinburgh Air Force fly me here." Roman was so confused. He says, "But why?" And the guy says, "Well, I thought at last I could show you my gratitude. You see, I'm a brain surgeon. I operated on you this morning." I love that story. The coincidence there is so powerful it had to be providence. There's Roman doing this brave, unselfish thing, and it turned out to save his life. Because when he crash landed, the main surgeon of that hospital said the wound was beyond his skill, and he didn't think it would be worth it even to try to operate. So that would have been the end of Roman if it hadn't been for the friend that he helped escape from Vienna. Just wanted to share that with you guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.